Many years from now, if anyone were to ask you, when did your life begin to feel lighter? You probably wouldn't remember the exact day. You wouldn't remember the season. You wouldn't remember what you were wearing or what had happened that morning. You would remember a light, a single warm light, waiting in the middle of a sleeping forest. Strange, isn't it? How an entire life can quietly change because of something so small. Of course, standing here tonight, you don't know any of that yet. Right now, you're simply walking. One slow step, then another. The path beneath your feet is soft, still damp from an afternoon rain. The scent of pine drifts gently through the cool evening air. Above you, the stars seem impossibly clear. Not one of them appears to be rushing anywhere. And for the first time in what feels like forever, neither are you. No one is waiting for your reply. No phone is asking for your attention. No clock is reminding you that you're running late. The world, somehow, has continued without asking anything from you. You keep walking, not because you know where the path leads, but because something deep inside you has finally grown tired of turning back. Then you see it. At first, you wonder if you've imagined it. Just a tiny flicker far beyond the trees. A warm golden light, small enough to disappear if you looked away. But you don't. Something about it feels familiar. Not familiar in the way a place feels familiar. More like a memory you've somehow forgotten. You stop walking. The forest becomes perfectly still. Even the wind seems to pause, as though it has noticed the light. For a long moment, nothing happens. The light doesn't grow brighter. It doesn't move. It doesn't call to you. It simply remains. Patient, quiet, certain, almost as though it has been expecting someone. Not everyone, just one traveler. Someone who has been carrying too much for far too long. Without realizing it, you take another step, then another. The light doesn't become larger very quickly. It doesn't need to. Some beautiful things never hurry. As you walk, a thought quietly crosses your mind. Not every journey begins because someone is searching. Sometimes a journey begins because someone has finally become too tired to keep pretending they're not. You smile to yourself, a small smile, the kind that appears before you even notice it. Perhaps the first real smile you've allowed yourself today. The trees slowly begin to open. Moonlight spills across the forest floor. And there, standing quietly beneath the silver sky, is a little wooden cabin. Its roof is covered with fresh snow. A ribbon of smoke rises lazily from its chimney. One window glows with warm amber light, not bright enough to chase away the darkness, only bright enough to remind you that darkness has never been the end of the story. You don't know who lives there. You don't know why the fire is still burning. You don't know why some part of your heart already feels safe. But for reasons you cannot explain, it feels as though someone inside that little cabin has been keeping the fire alive. For one simple reason, they believe that one evening, someone exactly like you would finally arrive. For a long moment, you simply stand there, watching the warm light spill gently across the fresh snow. Nothing about the cabin is trying to impress you. It isn't grand. It isn't perfect. It doesn't promise answers. It simply waits, patiently, quietly, as though it has been here long before you ever found the path. The wind slips softly through the pine trees. Their branches sway together, like old friends sharing a quiet conversation. Somewhere above, a single owl calls into the night. Then everything becomes still again. You take another slow step, then another. The wooden porch comes into view. A narrow path has been carefully cleared through the snow. Not wide enough for a crowd, just wide enough for one tired traveler. Your foot rests on the first wooden step. It answers with the softest creak, not the sound of something old, but the sound of a place that has welcomed many weary souls before you. You pause. Your eyes drift toward the glowing window. Inside, shadows move gently across the walls. The fire is alive. The kettle is beginning to sing. Somewhere, a clock quietly marks the passing of time. Not to hurry anyone, only to remind the night that it is still awake. You wonder, who lives here? Who keeps the fire burning on a winter night like this? Who leaves the lantern glowing? For someone they have never met, the questions come, then gently drift away. Some places do not ask to be understood, only entered. You reach out. Your fingers rest against the old wooden door. It feels warm beneath your hand, not only from the fire inside, but from years of kindness, of laughter, of quiet evenings, of stories shared beside the flames. For a brief moment, you close your eyes, not because anyone asked you to, simply because it feels right. The scent of cedarwood reaches you first, then warm tea, then the comforting fragrance of burning oak. A deep sense of peace begins to settle somewhere inside your chest. Not all at once, just enough for you to notice. Then, from somewhere inside the cabin, you hear something unexpected. Not a voice, not footsteps, just a gentle laugh. Soft, kind, almost as though someone inside has been expecting this moment. Your heart grows curious. You gently turn the brass handle. The old hinges move without a sound. Warm golden light quietly wraps itself around you. The cold forest remains behind. The warmth welcomes you forward, and without fully realizing it, you leave more than the snow outside. You leave behind the need to hurry, the need to prove, the need to carry everything alone. The door slowly closes behind you, and somewhere, just beyond the dancing firelight, someone quietly says, "I've been waiting for you." The voice is gentle, unhurried, warm enough to make the room feel even quieter. You look toward the fireplace. An old man is sitting beside the fire. He isn't reading. He isn't waiting for applause. He isn't dressed like a wise teacher. He simply sits there, with both hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. The firelight dances across the lines on his face. Lines carved not by age alone, but by years of laughter, years of loss, years of waiting, and years of finally learning that not everything in life needs to be hurried. He looks up. His eyes meet yours. There is no surprise in them, only kindness, the kind of kindness that asks nothing from you. A slow smile appears, not the smile of someone greeting a stranger, the smile of someone who somehow already knows how tired you've been. He gestures toward the empty chair across from him. Come. His voice is little more than a whisper. The fire has been waiting. You walk across the wooden floor. Each step feels lighter than the one before. You settle into the chair. The warmth reaches you immediately, not only from the flames, but from the quietness that seems to fill every corner of the little cabin. The old man pours another cup of tea. He places it gently beside you. No questions, no introductions, no awkward conversation. Only the soft sound of steam rising into the evening air. For a while, neither of you speaks. The silence never feels uncomfortable. It feels shared. Outside, snow continues to fall. Inside, the fire continues its slow and patient dance. Finally, the old man smiles again. When people find this cabin, he says softly, they usually believe they came here by accident. He watches a small spark rise from the fire. It always makes me smile, because no one has ever found this place by accident. Another quiet pause. They arrive when they're finally too tired to keep carrying the life they were never meant to carry alone. His words settle into the room, like snow settling upon the forest. He doesn't explain them. He doesn't ask whether you understand. He simply lets them rest. Then, almost as though remembering something, he reaches toward a small wooden shelf. From it, he picks up a tiny carved butterfly. Its wings are smooth from many years of gentle hands. He places it carefully on the table between you. I've always loved this little butterfly, he says with a quiet smile, because it reminds me of the first lesson the forest ever taught me. He leans back in his chair. The fire glows softly in his eyes. You see, there was once a young man who wanted more than anything to catch a butterfly. The old man pauses. His smile grows just a little warmer. And that, he whispers, is where our story truly begins. The old man gently turns the little wooden butterfly between his fingers. For a moment, he doesn't speak. He simply watches the fire, as though the flames remember the story better than he does. Then he smiles. There was once a young man. He was convinced that if he could catch the most beautiful butterfly in the forest, everything in his life would finally feel complete. So every morning, he chased them. He ran through fields. He climbed over fallen trees. He crossed streams. And every time, the butterfly flew just a little farther away. The harder he ran, the faster it disappeared. The more determined he became, the more exhausted he felt. The old man pauses. He lifts his cup, taking one slow sip of tea. The strange thing, he never once stopped to notice how beautiful the forest already was. Outside, snow continues to fall, quietly, patiently. The fire answers with a soft crackle. One afternoon, the young man became so tired he couldn't take another step. So he sat beneath an old pine tree. He wasn't trying to meditate. He wasn't trying to be wise. He wasn't trying to let go. He was simply too tired to keep chasing. A gentle smile crosses the old man's face. And for the first time all year, he became completely still. No plans, no struggle, no reaching. Just one quiet moment. In the middle of the forest, the old man slowly places the butterfly back onto the table. Do you know what happened next? He doesn't wait for an answer. A butterfly, the very one he had been chasing for weeks, floated gently through the trees. It circled him once. Then it landed softly on his shoulder. The room grows silent. Even a fire seems to listen. The young man didn't move. He didn't reach for it. He didn't try to hold it. He simply smiled. And after a little while, The butterfly opened its wings and returned to the sky. The old man looks toward the glowing fire. It never truly belonged to him. And somehow, that no longer mattered. Another quiet pause fills the cabin. Then he looks back at you. His eyes are warm, kind, full of a quiet understanding. You see, some things in life only come close when it no longer feel chased. He doesn't say anything else. He doesn't explain the story. He simply lets the silence carry it the rest of the way. Outside, the snow continues falling. Inside, the little wooden butterfly rests peacefully beside the fire. And somewhere deep within your own heart, a quiet question begins to appear. What have you been chasing for so long that you've forgotten how to simply sit beneath the tree? For a long while, neither of you speaks. The little wooden butterfly remains on the table, quietly catching the glow of the fire. The old man doesn't ask what you think. He doesn't ask whether you understood the story. He simply reaches for the teapot. Slowly, almost ceremonially, he fills your cup once again. The tea is warm, not hot, just warm enough to invite your hands to rest around it. You lift the cup. The fragrance rises gently. A little cedar, a little honey, a little chamomile, and something else, something impossible to name. It isn't a scent, it's a feeling, the feeling of arriving somewhere, without needing to explain yourself. The old man smiles as though he already knows what you're experiencing. You know, he says softly, I used to believe that peace would arrive when everything in my life was finally in order. You give a quiet little laugh. It never happened. There was always another problem, another bill, another disappointment, another reason to postpone happiness until tomorrow. He watches the flames for a moment. I spent years waiting for life to become easier. It never did. But something else happened instead. His fingers rest lightly against the warm cup. I became softer, and somehow, life no longer felt quite so heavy. The fire crackles. A log gently settles into the glowing embers. Tiny sparks rise, then disappear into the chimney. The old man follows them with his eyes. People spend so much of their lives trying to hold on. They hold on to old conversations. They hold on to old mistakes. They hold on to old fears. And then they wonder why their hands are too full to receive anything new. He slowly opens one hand. His palm is empty. If your hands never open, even most beautiful gift has nowhere to land. Silence returns, comfortable, unhurried. Outside, the snow continues falling with quiet patience. Inside, the fire keeps its gentle rhythm. You take another sip of tea. It seems warmer now. Or perhaps you are. The old man notices your eyes resting on the window, beyond the glass. The forest glows beneath the moonlight. Everything appears perfectly still. Then, almost too quietly to hear, he says, there is another place, not far from here, a place I visit whenever I begin chasing life again. He looks toward the window. His smile is calm. I haven't been there in quite some time. Another pause. Then he turns back to you. But tonight, I think it's waiting for both of us. The fire burns a little lower. The kettle gives one last gentle sigh. Outside, the moonlight stretches across the snow. as though quietly revealing a path that wasn't there before. The old man slowly stands. He doesn't say a word. He simply reaches for a thick wool coat hanging beside the door. Then another. He gently offers one to you. His smile asks the question, long before his voice does. Would you like to take a walk? You find yourself nodding, not because you're curious, although you are, not because you're searching for answers, perhaps because something inside you already trusts the silence. He opens the door. The night greets you once again, cool, fresh, gentle. The warmth of the cabin remains behind you, not disappearing, simply waiting. The old man lifts the lantern from its hook. Its golden light falls softly across the snow. He doesn't hold it high, only high enough to reveal the next few steps. Nothing more. You notice that the path outside wasn't there before, or perhaps it was, and you simply hadn't been ready to see it. The two of you begin walking. No hitty, no destination announced. The lantern swings gently, keeping time with your footsteps. After several quiet minutes, the old man bends down. He brushes away a little snow. Beneath it, a tiny green shoot pushes through the frozen earth. He smiles, then quietly continues walking. He never explains. A little farther along, you pass an old tree. Its trunk is split down the middle. One half is weathered, scarred by storms. The other half is covered with fresh moss. Small wildflowers grow at its roots. The old man rests his hand against the bark, just for a moment, then lets it fall again. Still, he says nothing. The forest seems to understand. The wind moves through the branches, as though finishing a sentence. Neither of you needed to speak. You begin to notice something. The silence no longer feels empty. It feels alive, filled with the sound of snow settling upon branches, the distant murmur of a hidden stream, the whisper of pine needles touching one another in the breeze. The old man suddenly stops. He points ahead, between the trees. Moonlight spills into a small clearing. At its center, a narrow stone bridge crosses a quiet stream. The water moves slowly, so slowly that it reflects every star above. The old man finally speaks. Only 4 words. It wasn't here yesterday. You look at him. He smiles, not as though he has told you a mystery, but as though he has shared something perfectly ordinary. Together, you step onto the bridge. The old wooden lantern glows softly beside you. The stream continues its patient journey, and somewhere beyond the silver mist, hidden deeper within the forest, a bell rings once, clear, gentle, almost like an invitation. The old man looks toward the sound, then quietly says, "Come." Nothing more, and together you continue walking toward whatever has been waiting. Beyond the morning mist, the sound of the little bell fades gently into the distance. Yet somehow it feels closer with every step you take. The stone bridge disappears behind you. The stream continues its quiet journey, never asking where it should go, never wondering if it is moving fast enough. The lantern casts a warm circle of light, just a few feet ahead, no farther, no farther than you need. The old man walks beside you. His footsteps are so light that they seem to belong to the forest itself. For a while, neither of you speaks. The silence has become a friend now, not something to fill, but something to share. The trees slowly begin to thin. The moonlight grows brighter. Then, quite unexpectedly, You arrive at a small garden. It isn't surrounded by a fence. There is no gate, no sign, only a narrow stone path, winding gently between patches of wildflowers. Some flowers are in full bloom. Others are only beginning to open. A few have already released their petals, allowing them to drift peacefully across the ground. Nothing here seems to be trying to bloom before its season. Nothing appears worried about what came before or what will come next. Everything simply belongs to this moment. The old man kneels beside a tiny white flower. A single snowflake has settled upon one of its petals. He smiles, and with the gentlest touch, he brushes the snow away. The flower never resists. The snow never clings. Both simply continue their own quiet journey. You stand again, without a word. You continue walking together. A robin lands upon a nearby branch, tilting its head as though studying the two travelers passing through. For just a heartbeat, the little bird begins to sing. Then it flies away, leaving only the echo of its song behind. The old man watches it disappear into the night. A soft smile appears. Beautiful things. He whispers. Never ask anyone to hold them. The words drift into the cool evening air. No explanation follows. None is needed. The garden itself has already finished the sentence. You notice something else. There are no footprints, except the ones appearing beneath your own feet. The fresh snow all around the garden remains untouched, almost as though the forest quietly erases yesterday. Every single night, giving every traveler a brand new path to walk. The lantern grows just a little dimmer, not because it is losing its light, but because the moon has become brighter. Far ahead, beyond the garden, you notice something rising through the mist. At first, it looks like another tree. Then, as the clouds slowly move aside, its shape becomes clear. An enormous oak, older than any tree you've ever seen. Its branches stretch across the night sky, like gentle arms, waiting to embrace the stars. The old man stops. He removes his hat and lowers his head for only a moment, not out of fear, not out of habit, but out of quiet respect. When he looks at you again, his eyes are smiling. The oldest stories, he says softly, are waiting beneath that tree. Then he begins walking once more, slowly, patiently, as though he has made this journey 1,000 peaceful nights before, and without needing to ask why. You find yourself following him toward the great oak, waiting in the moonlight. The old oak stands in perfect silence. Its roots disappear deep beneath the earth, as though they have been listening to this forest for hundreds of years. Its branches reach high into the night, holding the moonlight as gently as an old friend. The closer you walk, the more you notice how still everything has become. Even the wind seems to slow as it passes beneath the ancient tree. The old man sets the lantern down. Its golden light rests quietly against the trunk. For a moment, neither of you moves. Neither of you speaks. The silence feels complete. Then, you notice something carved into the bark. Just above where the roots disappear into the ground is a single wooden door. Small, simple, barely large enough for one person to walk through. There is no handle, no lock, only a tiny brass bell hanging beside the frame. The old man looks at the door, the way someone might look at an old friend. He reaches toward the little bell, then stops. His hand slowly falls back to his side. A quiet smile appears. Not yet. Only 2 words. Nothing more. He kneels beside one of the great roots, brushing away a thin layer of snow. Beneath it, the earth is warm. Not hot, simply warm, as though the heart of the forest has been quietly breathing all through the winter. He places his hand upon the ground, closing his eyes for only a few seconds. When he opens them again, he doesn't look surprised. He looks grateful. You find yourself doing the same, resting your hand against one of the old roots. The wood feels smooth, alive, steady. A feeling moves gently through your hand. Not a sound, not a voice, more like a quiet memory you can't quite remember, yet somehow have always known. The old man watches you. He says nothing. He doesn't ask what you felt. Some experiences become smaller the moment we try to explain them. A single leaf, still golden from another season, breaks free from a branch high above. It drifts slowly through the moonlight, turning once, then again, before landing, perfectly still, in the center of your open hand. You look at it. The old man smiles. This forest, he whispers, has a way of answering the questions we never ask aloud. His eyes return to the little wooden door. The first time I came here, I thought I had discovered it. A gentle laugh escapes him. It took me many years to realize it had discovered me. The moon slips from behind a passing cloud. The ancient oak glows with silver light. For just a heartbeat, the tiny wooden door seems almost to breathe. Somewhere beyond it, very deep beneath the roots, you hear the faint sound of flowing water, not above the earth, below it. Ancient, slow, patient. The old man picks up the lantern once more. He looks at you. Tomorrow, he says softly, I'll tell you why no one can open that door. By trying. He smiles, then turns, beginning the slow walk back toward the cabin. Behind you, the old oak remains standing, watching over the sleeping forest, its little wooden door, quietly waiting for the right moment. The walk back is even quieter. The lantern sways gently between you. Its warm light rises, then falls, keeping time with your footsteps. Behind you, the ancient oak slowly disappears into the mist. Yet somehow, it doesn't feel farther away. It feels closer, as though a small part of it has chosen to walk beside you. The old man says nothing. Neither do you. The silence has become easy now, like sitting beside an old friend who has never expected you to fill every quiet moment with words. Snow continues to fall, one delicate flake at a time, each one finding its own place to rest. None of them rushing, none of them wondering whether they have arrived too late. The cabin soon comes into view. Its golden windows glow softly through the trees. The fire is still burning, exactly as you left it. The old man opens the door. Warm air gently welcomes you home. Home! The word surprises you. You have only just arrived. And yet, some part of your heart already calls this place home. He hangs the lantern on its old wooden hook. The little flame continues dancing behind the glass. Steady, patient, reliable, just like the cabin itself. Without a word, the old man places another log onto the fire. Tiny sparks drift upward. For a brief moment, they look like little stars. Try to remember the sky. You sit once more in the familiar chair. The warmth reaches your hands, your shoulders. You're breathing. Outside, the wind continues its quiet song. Inside, the kettle begins to whisper again. The old man pours fresh tea into two simple cups. He slides one toward you. Then he looks into the fire, as though reading something hidden within the flames. After a long while, he finally speaks. When I was younger, I thought every locked door was hiding a treasure. A faint smile appears. So I spent years trying to open them. He pauses, listening to the fire. I climbed mountains. I crossed rivers. I searched places that most people had forgotten. And every time, I believed the next door would finally give me what I've been searching for. He gently wraps both hands around his cup. It never did. Silence returns. Not empty, not unfinished, simply waiting. The old man slowly looks toward the window. Beyond the glass, the snow continues falling. The strange thing, he says almost to himself, the greatest gifts of my life never appeared. Behind doors I forced open. He lets the sentence drift away. No explanation follows, only the quiet crackle of burning cedar. Then, very softly, almost as though he is remembering rather than speaking, he adds, they arrive the moment I stop trying to make them arrive. The room becomes still once again. Outside, the forest sleeps peacefully. Inside, the fire continues its gentle dance. And somewhere beneath the ancient oak, hidden below roots older than memory, the sound of flowing water continues through the darkness, patiently waiting for the story that has not yet been told. The old man falls quiet again, not because the story has ended, but because some stories breathe more deeply. Inside silence, the fire settles into glowing embers. The room grows softer. Outside, the snow continues to cover the forest, one quiet layer at a time. The old man slowly reaches beneath the table. He brings out an old wooden box, small, worn smooth by many years. There are no carvings upon it. No look, no sign of anything valuable inside. He places it gently between the two of you. Then, without saying a word, he opens it. Inside, there is only a single stone, round, smooth, about the size of your hand. Nothing unusual, nothing extraordinary. The old man carefully lifts the stone. He turns it over once, as though greeting an old friend. Then he places it in your hands. It feels warmer than you expected. Not hot, simply warm, as though it has been resting beside the fire for a very long time. You study it. Its surface is marked with faint white lines, like tiny rivers, finding their own way across a mountain. The old man notices where your eyes have settled. He smiles. I found this. Beside the stream beneath the old oak. He pauses. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't rare. But something about it asked me not to leave it behind. You continue holding the stone. Its warmth seems unchanged. Steady. Comforting. Outside, a gentle gust of wind brushes against the cabin. The windows give the softest little sigh. The old man leans back in his chair. When I first picked it up, I thought I had chosen the stone. A quiet smile touches his face. Years later, I wasn't so sure. He lets out the smallest laugh. It stayed with me long enough to teach me patience. Nothing more. No explanation. No lesson. Only those few words. The fire crackles softly. You turn the stone over once, then again. For just a moment, the white lines seem almost to shimmer in the glow of the fire. Perhaps it is only the light. Perhaps not. You don't feel the need to decide. The old man gently takes the stone back. He returns it to the little wooden box, then closes the lid. The sound is barely louder than a falling snowflake. He stands, walks quietly to the window, and looks toward the sleeping forest. The stream will still be there tomorrow. He says softly, it has never hurried. A single day, in all the years I've known it. He rests one hand against the window frame. The water keeps flowing. The roots keep growing. The stars keep returning, as though none of them have ever doubted the right time. You join it by the window. Together, you look toward the dark outline of the ancient forest, somewhere beyond the trees, hidden beneath the earth. The unseen stream continues its endless song. You cannot hear every note, only enough to know that it is there, waiting, flowing, patiently, just as it always has. The old man remains by the window. His eyes rest quietly upon the sleeping forest, not searching, not remembering, simply watching. After a while, he reaches for the lantern once more. Its little flame has grown smaller, yet somehow its light feels even warmer. He turns toward you. No long explanation, only a gentle nod. You understand. The two of you step outside once again. The cold night welcomes you. Fresh snow has covered your footprints. The path you walked only a little while ago has disappeared completely. You stop for a moment. Looking behind you, nothing remains. The old man notices. A quiet smile appears. He says nothing. He simply begins walking. And somehow, that feels like the answer. The forest has changed. Or perhaps you have. The trees no longer seem mysterious. They feel familiar, like old friends who have finally stopped expecting anything from you. The lantern sways gently. Its golden light moves across the snow. Every few moments, a tiny snowflake drifts through its glow before disappearing into the darkness again. The night is wonderfully still. Far above, the moon continues its slow journey, never rushing toward tomorrow, never looking back at yesterday. You begin to hear it again, very faintly, the sound beneath the earth, the hidden stream. Its voice is soft, almost impossible to hear. Yet once you notice it, you cannot unhear it. The old man steps carefully between two ancient pines. The sound becomes clearer, not louder, only closer. Soon, the snow begins to disappear. The ground feels warmer beneath your feet. Small patches of green moss emerge between the stones. The air changes. It carries the clean scent of moving water. Then, the trees open. Before you, a narrow stream flows quietly through the forest. Its water is so clear that every stone resting beneath the surface can be seen. The current is gentle, almost effortless. Moonlight dances across the water, like scattered pieces of silver. The old man kneels beside the stream. He doesn't drink. He doesn't touch the water. He simply watches it. For a long while, you sit beside him. Neither of you speaks. The stream continues flowing, never asking where it must go, never questioning whether it has enough time. It simply follows the path that has been quietly waiting for it. A single maple leaf drifts into the water. It spins once, then slowly begins its journey downstream. The old man watches until it disappears around a bend. Only then does he quietly whisper. It never argues. With the river, silence returns. The stream keeps singing. The forest keeps listening. And as your eyes follow the flowing water, you notice something half hidden beneath the surface. Not a stone, not a branch, something made of wood. Old, perfectly still, as though it has been resting there for many, many years. The old man sees it too. His smile grows just a little. Without saying another word, he slowly reaches toward the water. The old man lowers his hand into the stream. The water moves around his fingers, without resistance, without hesitation, for a few quiet moments. Nothing happens. Then, very gently, he lifts a small wooden box from beneath the clear water. It is no larger than a loaf of bread. It's what has grown dark with age. The corners are smooth, as though countless years have quietly polished them. Not a single drop of water remains upon its surface. You notice that first. The stream had been flowing around it, yet the little box appears, perfectly dry. The old man doesn't seem surprised. He cradles it carefully, as though holding something familiar. Not precious because it is valuable, but precious because it has been loved. He places the box upon a flat stone beside the stream. Moonlight settles across its lid. The forest becomes impossibly still. Even the little current seems to slow. You expect him to open it. He doesn't. Instead, he rests one hand upon the lid, closing his eyes for only a moment. Then he quietly smiles. I was younger than you, the first time I found this. His voice is almost carried away by the wind. I believed whatever was inside would change my life. A tiny laugh escapes him. So I hurried. I pulled. I forced. I tried every way I knew to open it. He looks down at the old box. It never moved. The stream continues flowing beside you, patiently, as it always has. The old man traces the grain of the wood with one finger. I came back the next day, and the next, and many days after that. Every visit, I tried a little harder. His smile becomes softer, and every visit, the box remained closed. Silence settles around the two of you. Not awkward, not unfinished, simply true. A breeze stirs the branches above. Tiny reflections ripple across the stream. The old man slowly lifts his hand away from the box. One morning, I forgot about opening it. I sat exactly where you are sitting now. I watched the water. I listened to the birds. I stayed until the sun was high. His eyes follow the current as it slips quietly between the stones. And when it was finally time to leave, I picked up the box. Without thinking, he pauses, looking at you with a gentle warmth. It was already open. He says nothing more. No explanation. No listen. Only the sound of flowing water. You look at the little wooden box. Its lid remains closed. Or perhaps only from where you're sitting. The old man notices your curiosity. He smiles, not with mystery, but with kindness. Some things, he whispers, do not open. When we ask, they open. When we're no longer asking, he slowly slides the little box across the flat stone until it rests gently before you. I think, he says almost inaudibly, it has been waiting for someone else. The forest grows quiet once again. The stream continues its endless song. The moon watches from above. and without realizing why, you reach out, resting your fingertips upon the weathered wooden lid. Your fingertips rest lightly upon the weathered wood. The box feels neither warm nor cold. It simply feels present for a little while. You don't move. The old man doesn't encourage you. He doesn't stop you. He simply watches the stream, as though it has become the one telling the story. The moonlight slips quietly through the branches. A soft breeze brushes across the water. The little wooden lid moves ever so slightly, not because you pushed it, not because the old man touched it. It simply settles with the quiet sound of old wood finding its place. You slowly lift the lid. There is no burst of light, no hidden treasure, no ancient map, no mysterious key. Inside, there is only a single feather, white, perfectly clean, resting in the center of the empty box. Nothing else. You look at the feather, then at the old man. He smiles. I know, he says softly. I expected something much bigger too. A quiet laugh escapes him. When I was young, I thought the world rewarded effort with grand discoveries. His eyes drift toward the feather. But the older I became, the more I noticed that life's greatest gifts were almost always the quietest ones. You gently lift the feather. It weighs almost nothing. A small breeze slips through the clearing. The feather rises from your fingers, not falling, simply floating. It circles once above the stream. Then another time. The old man watches it without reaching for it, without following it. Together, you watch as it lands upon the surface of the water. For a brief moment, it rests there, perfectly still. Then the gentle current begins carrying it downstream. Neither fast nor slow, only at the speed the river has always known. The old man finally kneels beside the water. He cups one hand beneath the flowing stream. The water slips effortlessly through his fingers. He smiles to himself, then quietly says, I spent half my life trying to hold the river. He opens his hand. The last drops fall back into the current. It was always happier. When I let it flow, silence returns. A peaceful silence. The kind that asks for nothing. High above, the clouds slowly drift away from the moon. The clearing grows brighter. Across the stream, partly hidden beneath hanging branches, you notice a narrow footpath. It wasn't there before. Or perhaps it had simply blended into the forest until this very moment. The old man follows your gaze. His smile grows a little warmer. There it is. Only 3 words. No explanation. He picks up the lantern. Its golden light gently reaches toward the beginning of the path. The stream continues its endless song behind you. The little wooden box remains upon the stone. Open now. Empty now. Exactly as it was always meant to be. The old man takes one slow step toward the hidden trail, then another. Without looking back, he quietly says, Come. And once again, the forest seems to open, just enough for the next part of the journey. The narrow path winds gently into the forest. Not straight, not hidden, simply quiet. The lantern casts a warm circle of light before you, just enough to reveal the next few steps. No farther. The old man walks ahead, never too fast, never too slow. His footsteps leave only the faintest impressions upon the earth. You follow, listening to the soft rhythm of your own steps. The stream gradually fades behind you. Its gentle song becomes quieter until it blends with the whisper of the trees. For a while, the only sound is the wind moving through the branches. The forest feels different here, older, softer, almost as though every tree has been standing here long before anyone thought to give this place a name. The old man pauses beside a fallen log. A tiny patch of green moss covers its surface. He brushes it gently with the tips of his fingers. A single drop of dew catches the lantern light. It shines for just a moment, like a tiny star, before slipping quietly back into the moss. The old man smiles. He says nothing. You continue walking. Soon, the trees begin to spread farther apart. The moonlight reaches the forest floor once again. You notice there are no footprints. Not yours. Not the old man's. Not those of any animal. The fresh blanket of snow remains untouched. You glance behind you. The path you have just walked has quietly disappeared. Only smooth snow remains. The old man notices your expression. He looks around, as though this is the most ordinary thing in the world. Then he quietly says, "The forest never keeps anyone. It only welcomes them." His words drift away with the breeze. No explanation follows. Ahead, the path curves gently around a cluster of ancient stones. In the center, a small wooden bench rests beneath a great pine tree. Its wood has faded with time. Its edges are smooth. Someone has cared for it. For many years, the old man sets the lantern upon the bench. Its warm glow fills the little clearing. He remains standing for a moment, looking upward. The branches sway gently above. Thousands of pine needles shimmer beneath the moonlight. Then, without warning, one tiny pine cone falls. It lands softly upon the bench between you. The old man picks it up. He turns it once in his hand, then places it in your palm. So much life. He whispers, in something so small. He smiles, not because he expects you to understand, but because he knows. One day, you will remember this moment. The wind grows quieter. The lantern flame remains steady. And somewhere, far beyond the trees, a faint golden glow begins to appear. Not the light of the cabin, not the light of the moon. A different light, gentle, steady, waiting. The old man looks toward it. His eyes brighten with quiet recognition. Then, with the same calm smile he has carried all evening, he softly says, "We're almost there." And together, you rise from the little bench, continuing toward the gentle light that has been patiently waiting beyond the forest. The gentle light grows clearer with every quiet step. It doesn't shine through the trees. It seems to rise from the earth itself. The old man walks a little more slowly now, not because the path has become difficult, simply because there is no reason to hurry. The forest opens once again. Before you, a small garden rests beneath the moonlight. No walls, no gate, no signs, only wildflowers, blooming peacefully among smooth stones and soft grass. Tiny lanterns hang from low wooden posts. Each one carries a small golden flame. None of them burn brightly. Together, they are more than enough. The old man smiles. I come here whenever I forget how simple life really is. He kneels beside one of the lanterns. Its flame flickers gently in the evening breeze. Without shielding it, without adjusting it, He simply watches. A few moments later, the flame steadies itself. You notice several wooden benches scattered throughout the little garden. No two are the same. One is carved from oak, another from cedar. One appears almost new. Another has weathered countless winters. Each one faces a different direction. Some look toward the flowers, others toward the stars. One faces nothing, except an open stretch of quiet sky. The old man chooses that one. You sit beside him. Neither of you speaks. The silence feels different here, lighter, as though the garden itself has been collecting peaceful evenings for a very long time. A small rabbit quietly emerges from the tall grass. It pauses. Its ears gently rise. For a moment, it looks directly at you. Then, without fear, it begins nibbling on a tiny patch of clover. The old man smiles. They never stay. Well, they don't feel safe. The rabbit finishes eating. It looks toward the moon, then disappears back into the meadow. The breeze carries the faint scent of lavender. Somewhere nearby, wind chimes answer the air with soft, gentle notes. No melody, no performance, only sound, finding its own way through the night. You close your eyes for just a heartbeat. When you open them again, you notice something you hadn't seen before. Near the center of the garden stands a simple stone table. Upon it rests a single unopened envelope. No seal, no declaration, only one sentence, written in graceful handwriting. For the traveler who has finally stopped rushing. The old man follows your gaze. His smile becomes warmer. He doesn't reach for the envelope. He doesn't encourage you to open it. He simply stands, picks up the lantern, and quietly says, "I wondered when you would notice it." The lantern glows softly between you. The flowers sway with the breeze. The envelope remains exactly where it is, waiting, without impatience, without expectation, as though it knows that some things are received only when the heart is ready. The envelope remains where it is, untouched. The moonlight rests quietly upon its surface. The old man doesn't look at you. He doesn't look at the envelope either. Instead, he watches the little lantern beside the stone table. Its flame rises, then settles, rises, then settles again, almost as though it is breathing. You take one slow step forward, then another. The grass beneath your feet is soft, still carrying the coolness of the evening. When you finally stand before the stone table, you notice something. The envelope isn't new. Its edges have softened with time, as though many hands had once held it gently. Yet somehow it still feels as though it has been waiting. Only for this moment. Very carefully, you lift it. It is surprisingly light. Inside, there is only a single sheet of paper. No signature, no date, no name, only a few simple words. You unfold it. The handwriting is calm, unhurried. Every letter seems to have been written without the slightest rush. You begin to read. Welcome. If these words have found you, then perhaps you have finally become tired of carrying what was never yours. You pause. The garden grows even quieter. A gentle breeze turns one corner of the page. You continue. You do not need to become more worthy before you deserve rest. You do not need to become more successful before you deserve peace. You do not need to become someone else before you deserve kindness. The words are simple, almost ordinary. Yet each one seems to settle somewhere deep inside you, near the bottom of the page. Only one final sentence appears. When your hands become empty, you will discover they were never empty at all. Nothing more. No explanation. No instructions. No promise. Only silence. You gently fold the paper, returning it to the envelope. The old man finally walks toward the table. He doesn't ask what the letter said. He simply smiles. Everyone reads. The same page. He says quietly. And somehow, everyone receives a different letter. He places the envelope back upon the stone. The evening breeze moves gently through the garden. For just a moment, the envelope lifts ever so slightly, then settles once more, as though the garden itself has accepted its return. The old man picks up the lantern. Its warm light stretches across the little path ahead. Beyond the garden, another trail disappears into the moonlit forest. Narrow, peaceful, waiting. He turns toward it. The night, he whispers, still has one more story. And I think it has been waiting for us. You take one last look at the quiet garden. The benches, the flowers, the little lanterns, the stone table, the envelope. Everything remains exactly where it belongs. Then, without hurry, you follow the old man once more, leaving the garden behind, carrying nothing in your hands, yet somehow feeling lighter than when the journey began. The garden slowly disappears behind you, not because the darkness has swallowed it, but because some beautiful places never ask to be remembered. They simply become part of you. The lantern glows quietly in the old man's hand. Its gentle light falls upon the narrow trail ahead. One peaceful step, then another. The forest has changed once again. The pine trees have given way to ancient cedars. Their trunks rise high into the night, like silent guardians, watching over every traveler who passes beneath their branches. The air carries a different fragrance now. Fresh cedar, cool stone, the faint sweetness of moss after rain. Somewhere nearby, water continues its endless journey. Never loud, never hidden, always present. The old man walks without looking at the ground, as though his feet have known this path. For longer than memory itself, you begin to notice. There are no signs, no arrows, no names carved into trees. Nothing telling you where you are, nothing telling you how much farther you must walk. Strangely, that feels comforting, for so much of life has been measured. Miles, minutes, deadlines, expectations. Out here, none of those things seem to matter. The only measure is the next peaceful step. A cool breeze slips through the branches. The lantern flame leans gently, then stands upright once more. The old man smiles. The wind always reminds me. He says softly that not everything unseen needs to be understood. His words drift away as naturally as the breeze itself. No explanation follows. The forest accepts them, then returns to silence. A little farther ahead, the trail becomes covered with smooth, rounded stones. Each one glistens beneath the moonlight. You walk more slowly now, not because the path is difficult, but because every step seems to invite your attention. Above you, the stars remain countless. A shooting star quietly crosses the sky, so brief, you almost wonder if you imagined it. The old man notices. He doesn't point. He doesn't make a wish. He simply watches until the darkness becomes still once more. Then, almost to himself, he whispers, "Some moments, only visit once." And that is enough. The path bends gently to the left. Beyond the trees, you begin to hear another sound. Soft, steady, rhythmic. Not water, not wind. A heartbeat. Slow, ancient, almost as though the forest itself has a heart, quietly beating beneath the earth. You stop, listening. The old man stops beside you. He closes his eyes for a single breath, then opens them again. His smile carries the same peaceful warmth as the fire back in the cabin. You hear it now. Only 4 words. Nothing more. He lifts the lantern. Its golden light stretches toward the darkness ahead, far in the distance, hidden between the ancient cedars. A faint circle of warm light appears, not bright enough to reveal its source, only bright enough to invite one more step, then another, and another, without asking you to hurry, without asking you to believe, simply waiting, as though it has known all along that every quiet journey eventually finds its way here. The quiet rhythm continues. Slow, steady, patient. It doesn't echo through the air. It seems to rise from somewhere deep beneath the earth. You stand without moving, not because you are uncertain, because listening feels more important than walking. The old man remains beside you. His lantern glows softly between the ancient cedars. Neither of you speaks. The forest seems to understand that this is not a moment for words. Another gentle pulse, then another, each one separated by long stretches of perfect stillness. The sound is strangely comforting, not loud enough to demand your attention, only gentle enough to remind you that something unseen can still be wonderfully alive. The old man slowly begins walking again. You follow. The rhythm never grows louder. It simply becomes clearer, like a memory, returning one quiet piece at a time. The trail narrows. Ferns brush softly against your legs. Tiny drops of dew shimmer beneath the lantern light. A spider's web stretches between 2 low branches. Each delicate strand holds a single drop of water. Together, they look like a necklace of tiny stars. The old man pauses. He lowers the lantern, not to examine the web, only to admire it. A cool breeze passes through. The web bends gently, then returns exactly where it was. Untorn, unhurried, the old man smiles. He whispers only one sentence. It knows how to move. Without letting go, silence returns. You continue deeper into the forest. The heartbeat remains with you, never leading, never following, simply existing. The trees begin to grow farther apart. Moonlight pours across the ground like silver water. Ahead, large stones form a quiet circle, each one worn smooth by countless seasons. Wildflowers bloom between them, tiny white blossoms, no larger than snowflakes. Their fragrance is almost impossible to notice until you stop trying to notice it. The old man steps into the circle. He removes the lantern from his hand, setting it gently upon the largest stone. Its warm glow joins the moonlight, neither one competing with the other. The heartbeat continues. Slow, peaceful, steady. You suddenly realize it no longer seems to be coming from beneath the earth. It seems to be all around you, within the trees, within the breeze, within the silence itself. The old man closes his eyes. only for a moment. When he opens them again, he looks toward the center of the stone circle. There, resting upon a simple wooden pedestal, is an old compass. Its brass has faded with time. Its glass bears tiny scratches. The needle moves, not north, not south. It turns slowly, then becomes perfectly still, pointing toward you. The old man doesn't appear surprised. He simply smiles, a quiet smile, the kind that arrives when an old promise has finally remembered its way home. For a long moment, neither of you moves. The old compass rests quietly upon the wooden pedestal. Its needle remains perfectly still, still pointing toward you. The old man looks at it, then at you. A gentle smile touches the corners of his eyes, not because something extraordinary has happened, but because something familiar has. He walks to the pedestal. His movements are slow, careful, almost reverent. He lifts the compass into his hands. The brass is worn smooth. Its surface reflects the lantern light in soft golden circles. He studies it for a moment, then places it gently into your hands. It feels surprisingly light, as though it has already released everything it no longer needed to carry. You look down. The needle trembles slightly, then settles again, always returning to the same quiet direction. The old man chuckles softly. When I first held it, he says, I kept turning in circles. I thought, if I faced the right direction, my life would finally make sense. A little silence follows. The breeze moves gently through the cedars. I spent years walking where the compass pointed. I crossed valleys. I climbed mountains. I met wonderful people. I said goodbye to wonderful people. And one evening, I realized it had never been pointing to a place. He falls quiet. The lantern flickers once, then grows steady again. It was pointing to the part of me that I kept walking away from. The words settle softly into the night. No explanation follows, only the quiet breathing of the forest. You continue looking at the old compass. Its needle never becomes impatient. It never spins wildly. It simply waits until your hands become still. Then, almost without noticing, you stop trying to understand it. At that very moment, the needle no longer points toward your chest. Slowly, almost gracefully, it turns, not toward the mountains, not toward the cabin, not toward the garden you left behind. It points toward a narrow opening between two ancient cedar trees. The old man notices. He says nothing. He simply nods. Beyond the cedars, a faint mist drifts across the ground. Somewhere within it, a small wind chime sings. Only once. The sound is so delicate, it almost disappears before you hear it. The old man gently takes the compass back. He closes the lid. The tiny click echoes softly through the clearing. Then he slips it into the pocket of his old coat. My grandfather, he whispers, used to tell me, the best paths never announce themselves. They simply become visible to those who have stopped demanding directions. He smiles once more, not as a teacher, not as someone giving advice, simply as someone remembering. A voice he still carries with gratitude. He lifts the lantern. The warm circle of light stretches toward the opening between the cedars. Without another word, the two of you begin walking, and as the mist slowly parts before each quiet step, you begin to see the outline of an old stone arch. waiting silently. In the heart of the forest, the old stone arch stands quietly before you. It is neither tall nor magnificent. Time has softened every edge. Tiny patches of moss rest between the stones. Wild ivy winds gently around its sides. Moonlight settles upon the ancient rock, as though it has visited this place. Every night, for hundreds of years, the old man stops beneath the arch. He doesn't walk through. He simply looks upward, following the curve of the stone. His lantern rests peacefully at his side. Its warm light touches the moss, painting every shade of green with quiet gold. You notice something unexpected. Beyond the arch, there is no gate, no wall, no road, only the same peaceful forest, continuing exactly as before. The old man smiles. The first time I came here, he says softly, I was disappointed. I thought every archway must lead somewhere different. A gentle laugh escapes him. It took me many years to understand some places don't exist to change the world around us. They exist to change the way we walk through it. Silence returns. The breeze carries the scent of cedar. Somewhere nearby, a branch gently releases its evening dew. One clear drop falls, landing upon a smooth stone below. The sound is almost too quiet to hear. Yet somehow, it feels complete. The old man steps forward, passing slowly beneath the arch. Nothing changes. The moon remains the moon. The trees remain the trees. The wind continues its gentle song. He turns, looking back at you. His smile is warm, unhurried, patient. You take one step, then another, crossing beneath the weathered stone. For just a heartbeat, you feel nothing different. Then, almost without noticing, your shoulders relax. Your breathing slows. Not because someone instructed you, not because anything magical happened, simply because you stopped expecting something magical to happen. The forest welcomes you exactly as before. Only now, every sound seems softer, every fragrance richer, every breath a little deeper. The old man continues walking, not ahead of you, beside you, as though the journey has never been about following, only sharing the same quiet road. A pair of deer appear between the trees. They pause, watching you with calm, gentle eyes, neither frightened nor curious, only present. After a few peaceful moments, they quietly continue on their way. The old man watches them disappear, then lowers the lantern slightly. Ahead, the trail begins to descend. The air grows cooler. You begin to hear, not the hidden stream, not the heartbeat beneath the earth, but something new. Leaves, thousands of leaves, moving together, though the wind has become perfectly still. The old man smiles, almost to himself. We're close. Only 2 words, nothing more. Far below, beyond the descending path, the moonlight reveals the silver outline of the largest tree you have ever seen. Its branches spread across the valley, like gentle hands, holding the night itself, and resting beneath that great tree is someone already waiting. The great tree rises from the center of the valley, quiet, steady. Its branches spread so wide that they seem to gather the moonlight into one peaceful place. The leaves continue their gentle whisper, not because the wind is moving them, but because the night itself seems to be breathing. The old man slows his steps, The lantern glows softly beside him. Neither of you speaks. There is no need. Some places introduce themselves without words. As you draw closer, you notice someone sitting beneath the great tree. An elderly woman, wrapped in a simple wool shawl. A woven basket rests beside her. Her silver hair catches the moonlight like soft threads of winter. She is not reading. She is not waiting. She simply sits, watching the leaves drift slowly to the ground, one after another, as though each leaf is an old friend returning home. The old man smiles, a smile filled with quiet affection. She looks up. Her eyes meet his. Neither of them seems surprised. Neither hurries to speak. After a long, peaceful moment, she inclines her head ever so slightly. You're late. Her voice is gentle. The old man lets out the smallest laugh. I know. I stopped to listen. To the river. She nods. As you should. Silence returns. Comfortable. Familiar. The kind of silence that belongs to people who have never needed many words. Then her eyes turn toward you. There is kindness there, not the kindness of someone trying to make you feel welcome, the kindness of someone who never believed you were a stranger. She reaches into the basket. Carefully, she lifts out a small apple, deep red. Its skin shines softly beneath the moonlight. She offers it to you. No explanation, no ceremony. You accept it with both hands. The apple is cool, fresh. Its fragrance carries the sweetness of late autumn. The woman smiles. My father planted this tree. She says quietly, when I was younger than you. She rests one hand against the ancient trunk. He told me, never pull on a branch. To make it grow faster, she closes her eyes for a brief moment. I didn't understand him then. A leaf slowly separates from one of the highest branches. It drifts through the silver light, turning gently until it comes to rest upon her basket. She opens her eyes, now smiling at the leaf, rather than at either of you. It taught me anyway. The old man lowers the lantern beside the roots. Its warm glow joins the moonlight once again. No one speaks. The three of you simply sit together, listening to the quiet conversation between the leaves and the night. Then, almost hidden beneath the whisper of the branches, you hear something unexpected. Soft laughter. Children, very far away. The old man looks toward the distant hillside. The woman smiles knowingly. They're here already, she says. The old man nods. They always arrive. Before sunrise, you look toward the sound. Beyond the rolling mist, tiny lanterns begin to appear, moving slowly through the darkness, like little stars, walking across the earth. The tiny lights continue their slow journey through the valley, one after another, never hurried, never delayed, like stars that have quietly decided to walk upon the earth. The old man remains seated. The elderly woman gently folds her hands upon her lap. Neither of them waves. Neither of them calls out. They simply wait. The little lights grow closer. Soon, you begin to see the travelers carrying them. Children, some no older than 7, some perhaps 12. Each one holds a small lantern. Each lantern is different. Some are made of polished wood, some of woven willow, some of old brass that has weathered many winters. No lantern shines more brightly than another. Each carries exactly enough light for the child holding it. The children speak in whispers. Not because someone has asked them to, because the morning still feels asleep. As they reach the great tree, each child pauses. They gently place a hand against the ancient trunk, just for a moment, then continue walking. No one seems to be waiting for permission. No one appears to be following instructions. Everything happens as naturally as snow falling through the night. One little girl notices you. She smiles, not the shy smile of a stranger, the easy smile children sometimes offer before they learn to be suspicious of the world. She walks over quietly. From the pocket of her little coat, she removes a smooth acorn. She places it carefully in your hand. For later, her voice is barely louder than the breeze. Before you can answer, she smiles once more, then skips gently toward the others. The old man watches her go. His eyes soften. "I met her grandfather," he says quietly, "under this very tree, many winters ago." The elderly woman smiles. "And someday, she'll bring her own grandchildren here." No one says anything after that. No explanation is needed. The valley already understands. The children gather beneath the wide branches. They set their lanterns upon the ground, one by one, without speaking. Soon, dozens of little lights rest beneath the ancient tree, golden circles scattered across the grass. The great oak seems to glow from within, not brightly, gently, as though it is smiling back at every child. A robin lands on one of the lower branches. It sings only a few quiet notes, then becomes still again. The eastern horizon begins to change. The darkness doesn't disappear. It simply becomes softer, deep blue, slowly welcoming the first hint of morning. The old man lifts his eyes toward the brightening sky. "There," he whispers. You follow his gaze. A single beam of early light finds its way through the branches. It falls gently upon the place where all the little lanterns have been gathered for one peaceful moment. Moonlight, lantern light, and the first light of dawn rest together, without competing, without replacing one another, simply sharing the same quiet morning. The old man smiles. "So this," he whispers, "is how every new day begins. Not with noise, not with hurry, but with a little light, quietly meeting another. No one rushes to greet the morning. The children remain beneath the great tree. Their little lanterns continue to glow, even as the sky slowly begins to brighten. The old man watches them quietly. A peaceful smile rests upon his face. "You see," he whispers, "the lanterns are never meant to compete with the sunrise. They simply keep their promise until the light arrives." His words drift gently into the cool morning air. No one answers. The valley already understands. A small breeze moves through the branches above. Hundreds of tiny leaves shimmer together. For just a moment, it sounds almost like gentle applause. Not for anyone, not for anything, simply for another beautiful morning, finding its way into the world. The elderly woman slowly rises. She lifts her woven basket. Before leaving, she places one hand upon the ancient oak, closing her eyes for only a heartbeat. Then she smiles. "As always," she says softly, "thank you." She never explains who she is thanking. The tree, the morning, life itself. Perhaps there is no difference. She turns toward you. "The apple," she says with quiet warmth. "Don't save it for a special day. She smiles. Today is already one. With that, she walks slowly across the meadow. Her footsteps leave almost no sound. Soon, the morning mist gently wraps around her, until she quietly disappears from sight. The children begin collecting their lanterns. One by one, each tiny flame is covered with a small wooden lid. No one blows them out. The lights simply rest, waiting for another evening. The little girl who gave you the acorn looks back one last time. She waves, a simple wave. Then she follows the others along a narrow path, until only the quiet valley remains. The great oak stands alone once more. Yet somehow, it never feels lonely. The old man bends down. He picks up a single fallen leaf, golden, perfectly shaped. He turns it gently between his fingers, then places it upon the flowing breeze. The leaf drifts away without resistance. Neither of you watches to see where it lands. Some journeys do not need witnesses. The old man lifts the lantern. Its flame has grown very small now, not because it is fading, because daylight has begun to share its work. He smiles. I think. He says softly, the forest has shown us enough for one night. You begin walking together once more, leaving the great oak behind. The valley slowly disappears into the morning mist. Bird song quietly replaces the sounds of the night. The air feels different now. Not colder, not warmer, simply new. Ahead, the narrow trail curves gently around a hillside. Beyond it, you catch your first glimpse of the little cabin. Its chimney still sends a thin ribbon of smoke into the pale blue sky. The old man pauses for a moment, looking toward the cabin, as though looking toward an old friend. Then he quietly says, every journey, no matter how far it leads, eventually teaches us how beautiful it is to come home together. The two of you continue down the familiar path. The lantern glows softly at your side. The first rays of morning reach the tops of the trees, and somewhere deep within your heart, without any effort, without any struggle, a quiet sense of gratitude begins to rise as naturally as the sun itself. The little cabin comes into view, resting exactly where you left it. Nothing about it has changed. The same gentle smoke still rises from the chimney. The same amber light still glows behind the window. It is as though the cabin has never been waiting. It has simply been being itself. The old man walks a little more slowly now, not because he is tired, because there is something peaceful about returning without hurry. The wooden steps greet your feet with the same familiar creak. The sound makes you smile. It already feels familiar. The old man opens the door. Warmth quietly spills into the cool morning air. The scent of cedar, fresh bread, and burning oak welcomes you once again. You step inside. The fire is still alive. Its flames have grown smaller, yet they seem somehow deeper. The kettle rests peacefully above the glowing embers. A quiet stream of steam rises toward the ceiling. The old man hangs the lantern beside the door. Its little flame has almost disappeared. He gently places a hand over the glass. The flame bows once, then peacefully fades, not because it has failed, because daylight has arrived. The room becomes wonderfully still. The old man places another piece of oak upon the fire. The flames answer with a soft crackle. For a long while, neither of you speaks. You settle into the same wooden chair. It feels different now. Or perhaps you do. The old man pours 2 fresh cups of tea. He places one before you. Then he quietly sits across from you. The morning light slowly enters through the window, golden, gentle, touching the floorboards one by one. Dust dances through the light, tiny golden particles floating without destination, without effort, without ever wondering what they should be. The old man watches them. A peaceful smile appears. When I was young, he says softly, I believed every day had to change my life. He lets out a quiet laugh. I put so much pressure on ordinary mornings. He wraps both hands around his cup. It took me many years to discover that life had never asked for extraordinary days. It simply offered ordinary moments. Again and again and again, he falls silent. The words settle gently, like snow upon the roof. Outside, the forest awakens. A robin sings from somewhere nearby. The breeze moves softly through the pines. The world is beginning another day, not with urgency, not with noise, only with quiet faith that the light will arrive, as it always has. You lift your cup. The warmth reaches your hands. The fragrance rises gently. For a moment, you remember the path, the ancient oak, the children carrying lanterns, the hidden stream, the little wooden box, the stone arch, the garden. None of them feel far away. They feel as though they have quietly found a place within you. The old man notices the peaceful look upon your face. He smiles. There is one story. He whispers, I have never told anyone. Not because it is a secret, because no one had ever arrived at the right moment to hear it. He looks into the fire. The flames reflect softly in his eyes. It began, he says quietly, on the morning I stopped asking life to give me more, and finally noticed what it had been giving me all along. Outside, the morning grows brighter. Inside, the fire continues its gentle dance. And somewhere beyond the cabin, the forest waits patiently, ready to tell one more story. The fire burned quietly between you. Outside, morning continued to unfold without asking anyone's permission. A robin landed on the windowsill. It sang for only a few moments, then disappeared into the brightening sky. The old man watched it leave. A gentle smile appeared. There was once, he said softly, a gardener who loved his little orchard more than anything in the world. He planted apple trees. One spring morning, each tiny tree, no taller than his shoulder. Every day, he carried water from the river. Every day, he loosened the soil. Every day, he thanked the earth. Before returning home, the old man lifted his cup. The steam rose gently between the two of you. For a while, the trees grew, slowly, quietly, exactly as trees do. But the gardener began comparing his orchard to every other orchard in the valley. He saw taller trees. He saw greener leaves. He saw branches already heavy with fruit. And little by little, he forgot to enjoy his own. The fire answered with a soft crackle. So one morning, he decided to help. He loosened the soil a little more. He carried twice as much water. He trimmed more branches. He worked from sunrise until sunset. Still, the trees grew, only as quickly as yesterday. The old man looked into the dancing flames. The next morning, he tried even harder, and the morning after that, harder still. Soon, he was visiting every hour, checking every leaf, measuring every branch, wondering why nothing seemed to happen. Outside, a gentle breeze moved through the pines. Sunlight slowly reached the porch. The old man remained silent for a little while, then continued. One afternoon, he became frustrated, so frustrated that he knelt beside the smallest tree and gently pulled upward, hoping to help it grow. The old man smiled, not because the gardener was foolish, because he understood him. The little tree didn't grow. It only became weaker. The gardener sat beneath the tree, ashamed, tired, heartbroken. He stayed there until sunset. He had no strength left to fix anything, no ideas left, no plans left. He simply watched as the evening light settled across the orchard. A little bird landed upon one of the tiny branches, then another. Soon, butterflies drifted quietly between the young trees. The wind carried the scent of wildflowers from the nearby hills. For the first time in many weeks, the gardener wasn't looking for what was missing. He was simply looking. The old man gently placed his cup upon the table. The next morning, he returned with only one bucket of water. He smiled at each tree. He thanked the earth. And then he went home. Days became weeks. Weeks became seasons, without anyone noticing exactly when. The little orchard became beautiful, not because the gardener had learned how to make trees grow faster, but because he had finally learned how to stop standing in the way of the growing that was already happening. The old man fell quiet. The cabin filled once again with the soft music of the fire. Outside, the morning breeze continued through the pines. Inside, neither of you hurried to speak, because somewhere, deep within the silence, the little orchard was still growing. The fire has grown quiet now. Its gentle flames still dance, but only softly, as though they, too, are preparing to rest. Outside, the forest remains exactly as it has always been. The pines continue their silent watch. The little stream continues its endless song. The moon slowly begins its journey toward the horizon. Nothing is trying to hold on to the night. Nothing is afraid of the coming morning. The old man sits peacefully across from you. He does not offer another story. He does not search for one final lesson. He simply smiles, the kind of smile that says everything without asking for a single word. You look around the little cabin once more. The wooden table, the warm cups, the old lantern resting beside the door, the chair where you first sat, the fire that welcomed you without asking who you were. Everything is exactly as it was. And yet, everything feels different. Not because the cabin has changed, not because the forest has changed, but because something within you has become a little quieter, a little lighter, a little more willing to let this moment simply be enough. The old man slowly stands. He walks to the window. Morning has not yet arrived, but the darkness has already begun to soften. He watches the sky for a long moment, then quietly says, "The night never tries to become the morning. It simply gives way when the time is right." His words drift gently into the silence. You do not search for their meaning. You simply let them rest, just as the snow rests upon the earth, just as the moon rests above the trees, just as your own heart has finally found a quiet place to rest. The cabin grows still once again. No one needs to hurry. No one needs to speak. For this one peaceful moment, everything is enough.